The two children stood silent, shivering in the cold wind. "It was my sister's fault," said the queen. "She drove me to it. May the curse of all the powers rest upon her forever. At any moment I was ready to make peace, yes, and to spare her life too, if only she would yield to me the throne. But she would not. Her pride has destroyed the whole world. Even after the war began, there was a solemn promise that neither side would use magic. But when she broke her promise, what could I do? Fool! As if she did not know I had more magic than she. She even knew that I had a secret of the deplorable word. Did she think she was always a weakling, that I would not use it? What was it?" said Diggory. "That was the secret of secrets," said Queen Jadis. "It has long been known to the great kings of our race that there was a word of which, if spoken in the proper ceremonies, would destroy all living things except the one who spoke it. But the ancient kings were weak and soft-hearted, and bound themselves and all who should come after with great oaths never to seek it after the knowledge of the word. But I learnt it in a secret place and paid a terrible price to learn it. I did not use it until she forced me to it. I fought to overcome her by every other means. I poured out the blood of my armies like water." "Beast," muttered Polly. "The last great battle," said the queen, "raged for 3 days here in Charn itself. For 3 days I looked down upon it from this very spot. I did not use my power until the last of my soldiers had fallen, and the accursed woman, my sister, at the head of her rebels, was halfway up those great stairs that led up from the city to the terrace. Then I waited until we were so close that we could see each other's faces. She flashed her horrible, wicked eyes upon me and said, 'Victory.' 'Yes,' I said, 'victory, but not yours.' And then I spoke the deplorable word. A moment later, I was the only living being beneath the sun." "But the people," gasped Diggory. "What people?" asked the queen. "All the ordinary people," said Polly. "All who'd never done you any harm, and the woman, and the children, and the animals." "Don't you understand?" said the queen, still speaking to Diggory. "I was the queen. They were my people. What else were they to do for but my will?" "It was rather hard luck on them, all the same," he said. "I had forgotten that you were the only common boy. How should you understand the reasons of the state? You must learn, child, that what would be wrong for you, or for any of the common people, is not wrong in a great queen such as I. The weight of the world is on our shoulders. We must be freed from all the rules. Ours is a high and lonely destiny." Diggory suddenly remembered that his Uncle Andrew had used the same exact words, but they sounded much grander when Queen Jadis said them, perhaps because Uncle Andrew was not 7 feet tall and dazzlingly beautiful. "And what did you learn then?" said Diggory. "I had already cast strong spells on the hall where the images of my ancestors sit, and force of those spells was what I should sleep among, like an image myself, and need neither food nor fire, though it were 1,000 years, until one came back and struck the bell and woke me." Was it the deplorable word that made the sun like that?" asked Diggory. "Like what?" said Jadis. "So big and red and cold." "It has always been so," said Jadis, "at least for hundreds of thousands of years. Have you a different sort of sun in your world?" "Yes, it's smaller and yellower, and it gives a great deal more heat." "Ah." And Diggory saw on her face that same hungry, greedy look which he had lately seen on Uncle Andrew's. "So," she said, "yours is a younger world." She paused for a moment to look once more at the deserted city, and if she were sorry at all for the evil she had done there, she certainly didn't show it, and then said, "Now let us get going. It is cold here at the end of all the ages." "Go where?" asked both children. "Where?" repeated Jadis in surprise. "To your world, of course." Polly and Diggory looked at each other, aghast. Polly had disliked the queen from the first, and even Diggory, now he had heard such the story, felt that he had seen quite as much of her as he wanted. Certainly she was not at all the sort of person he would like to take home, and if they did they didn't know how they could. What they wanted was to get away from themselves, but Polly couldn't get her ring on, and of course Diggory couldn't go without her. Diggory got very red in the face and stammered, "Oh, our world? I didn't know you wanted to go there. What else were you sent here if not to fetch me? Asked Jadis. I'm sure you wouldn't like our world at all, said Diggory. It's not your sort of place, it is. It's very dull. It's really not worth seeing, seriously. It will be soon worth seeing when I rule it, answered the queen. Oh, well, but you can't, said Diggory. It's not like that. They wouldn't let you, you know. The queen gave a contemptuous smile. Many great kings, she said, thought that they could stand against the house of Charn, but they all fell, and their very names are forgotten. Foolish boy, do you think that I, with my beauty and my magic, will not have your whole world at my feet before a year has passed? Prepare your incantations, and take me there at once. This is perfectly frightful, said Diggory to Polly. Perhaps you fear this for your uncle of yours, said Jadis, but if he honors me duly, he shall keep his life and his throne. I am not coming to fight against him. He must be a very great magician if he has found how to send you here. Is he king of your whole world or only part? He isn't king anywhere, said Diggory. You are lying, said the queen. Does not magic always go with royal blood? Who ever heard of common people being magicians? I can see the truth whether you speak it or not. Your uncle is a great king and the great enchanter of your world. And by his art he has seen the shadow of my face, or in some magic mirror or some enchanted pool, and for the love of my beauty has made a potent spell which shook your world to its foundations and sent you across the vast gulf between the world and asked my favor to bring me to him. Answer me, is that not exactly how it was? Well, not exactly, said Diggory. Not exactly, shouted Polly. Why, it's absolute bosh from beginning to end. Minions, cried the queen, turning in rage upon Polly and seizing her hair at the top of her head where it hurt most. But in doing so, she let go of the children's hands. Now, shouted Diggory. Quick, shouted Polly. They plunged their left hands into their pockets. They did not even need to put the rings on. The moment they touched them, the whole dreary world vanished from their eyes. They were rushing upward towards a warm green light that was growing nearer overhead. All right, and then we will start the next part next week.